Okay, in this video, I'm going to start explaining the idea behind Green's theorem. I may need 2 videos to do this, but I thought I'd get started. So here's the statement of Green's theorem. We have some conditions on a curve. We want it to be a simple closed curve with a positive orientation, enclosing a simply connected region R in the plane. We also have a vector field whose components are P and Q, and both P and Q have continuous partial derivatives. And the statement of Green's theorem says that we can calculate the line integral using a double integral, and notice that the integrand here is the curl of the vector field. So we want to understand, okay, how come we're calculating an integral here? This is a circulation of the vector field through our curve, over our curve. We want to know why is it that that should be equal to a double integral of the curl. And so we're going to try to explore this idea. It's going to take me a little bit. And once again, this is not a proof. This is just the idea behind it. So let's imagine that we have a vector field and it's a velocity vector field. So we've got, little vectors inside, outside, everywhere, right? Vector field that's continuous, which means that every single point in the plane has a vector that corresponds to it. And let's suppose that it's a velocity vector field of some fluid. And we put in a spinner into the region. So I put in a little spinner here. And I want to know how much does that little spinner spin, right? So it's like a little paddle wheel that has a vertical axis along the positive z-axis, and it's going to spin depending on, like, the vector field might make this thing spin. And we put another spinner over here, and maybe it spins in a different direction or a different speed. And we put another spinner here, spins in a different direction and a different speed. And keep doing that throughout our region inside the curve. And we want to know, okay, these little spins, do they have any relationship to the actual circulation around the boundary of the region? The spins are a microscopic measure. And those spins are actually the curl, right? It's actually a circulation density. If I put a little propeller there, how much is this going to spin and in what direction? And of course, every single point in that region has a propeller that tells us with a spin driven by the vector field. And we want to know, is there a relationship between the spinning that goes on inside this region and the circulation along our boundary? And the circulation is a macroscopic measure around the boundary of the curve. The spin is a point-by-point measure of the spin of a propeller inside the region. Okay, so to do this, I'm going to do a little bit of hand waving here. I'm not going to do all the details, but I'm going to set up the idea. And let's suppose that we take a point in our region and a rectangle around that point, and we're going to find the circulation around this little rectangle. We're going to get an expression for the circulation around that rectangle, and then we're going to imagine letting that rectangle get arbitrarily small so that we can think of the circulation of the rectangle as the circulation density at that point. So here's the enlarged, zoomed in rectangle around a point. And let's just say that our point is xy over here. Maybe it's at the edge of the rectangle. And I'm going to set this up. We're going to basically calculate the circulation over the 4 segments that make up the rectangle. We're going to calculate over C1, C2, C3, and C4, knowing that in order to calculate our circulation over the curve C of our vector field, we will just add up, I'll write it this way, we're going to add up the circulation from I equals 1 to n of our 4 curves. Right? So I'm going to take each curve separately, find the circulation, and then add them all up. Okay, so I'm going to label the points, the endpoints of each of these line segments. When we start at xy, if I move to the right by a very tiny amount, I'm going to call that a little delta x. We're at the same elevation y. The point here, if I move up along C2, this is going to have the same x component as the bottom point, and we've moved up by a tiny little vertical amount. I'm going to call that delta y. And then the coordinates of this point will be x and y plus a little delta y. So if to calculate the circulation along C1, we're assuming, of course, our vector field has components PQ, and if we look at along C1, what happens when we walk along C1 is that x is changing but y is not. And x changes by an amount of delta x. And so recall that to calculate f dot dr, we really want to compute the vector field at our curve and dot that with r prime of t dt. This is the calculation form over t. So for us, along C1, the only thing that's changing is x, and it changes from x to delta x. So we can assume here that r prime of t is just going to be a little delta x change in the positive direction and no change in the vertical direction. So delta x in the horizontal direction, no change in the vertical direction. So now that we have r prime and we have our vector field, we can do the dot product between them. And we will get, for the dot product here, of PQ dotted with delta x0, that will just give us P at xy times delta x. And so that's going to give us an approximation for the circulation along C1 of our vector field. And so we're going to do the same for each of these segments. So that's why this video is going to take a little bit of time. But if we go along C2, and I am waving my hands a little bit because we probably should be using, being a little bit more careful with some of the details here, but I think this is okay for you to get the idea of the theorem. Along C2, notice that I'm going to do this one in red. When we go up C2, x does not change, but y changes by delta y. So really, the r prime of t should be 0 change along x and a delta y change along y. And here, if we think about our vector field, now we're dealing with the vector field where P is at x plus delta x y. The reason for this is because x is staying fixed at x plus delta x as we travel through C2, but y is changing. And Q, x plus delta x y. And this will be dotted with 0 delta y, and so you can see we get a component that only has q at x plus delta xy times a little delta y. So let's put a little rectangle around that too, since that's going to be important to come back to when we add them all up. And again, this represents the circulation of the vector field along the line segment C2. If we take a look at line segment C3, and we go back, let's think about this one in blue. X is changing by a negative delta x, but y is not changing. And so that's going to mean that our r prime of t here, notice I don't even really have to parameterize the curve because we have these constant rates of change, but we're going negative delta x along the x direction, no change along y, and our vector field now is going to be, well, let's think about this. Y is staying fixed at y plus delta y, but x is changing. So I'm going to write that as the vector field gets evaluated as x changes, but y is fixed at y plus delta y. So x changes, y is fixed, and we're dotting this with negative delta x0, which is the rate of change of the line segment. And so this is going to give us a negative p xy plus delta y times a little delta x, and I'm going to put a rectangle around that. And finally, C sub 4, r prime well, x is not changing. There's no change in x in the x direction, and change in the y is a negative delta y. Our vector field, our vector field is evaluated, well, x is not changing, and it's just at x, and y is changing, so I'm going to call that a y, q, x, y. We're dotting this with 0, negative delta y, and so this is going to be a negative q of xy delta y. And now I'm going to combine these pieces, but in a strategic way. I'm going to combine the two pieces that have a delta x and a p as our vector field, which are C1 and C3. So along C1 and C3, we can write that sum as, I'm going to factor out a negative and write it as p, this is the C3 circulation, p of x, y plus delta y times delta x minus, along C1, p of xy delta x. And for C2 and C4, I'm going to write those two pieces as, let's see, q x plus delta x y minus q xy, all of it times delta y. I could have done that above too, just factor out the delta y, delta x above. I can do, oh, I guess I can't. I can erase it. Okay, so we add these pieces and we have our circulation along the rectangle. But something to think about here is that we want to see how we get that curl, right? But let's notice that the partial of p with respect to y can be written as the limit as delta y approaches 0, only y is changing, of p at x, x plus delta y, minus p at xy divided by delta y, right? This is the definition of the derivative, but this is a partial derivative where only, y is changing. Sorry, this should be y plus delta y, where only y is changing. And so notice what we have here, right? If I factor out that delta x, so in our C1 plus C3, we can write this as negative p at x, y plus delta y, minus p at xy. I can pull out a delta x, and I can multiply by delta y over itself, over delta y. That's just 1. And so in the limit, right, which is kind of what we want to let those rectangles get as teeny tiny as possible. If I were to then here take a limit as delta y approaches 0, we're going to get, this is going to be negative partial of p with respect to y, x, no, y, times delta x, delta y, right? So this piece right here gives us the partial derivative. We still have the delta x, delta y on the outside. And we can do the same thing with C2 and C3. That's just going to be, we know that dq dx would be the limit as delta x approaches 0 of q of x plus delta xy minus q of xy divided by delta x, which is what we have up here. If I multiply up here by a delta x over delta x, if we do that, then our C2 plus C4 would be partial of q with respect to x times delta x, delta y. So putting these together, we have that the circulation around the rectangle can be expressed as partial of q with respect to x minus partial of p with respect to y times a little delta x delta y. So this is a circulation around the little tiny, tiny rectangle. Now you can see that this has given rise to the curl within the region. I'm going to use the second video to continue and to get to Green's theorem.